Hello, everybody. Jim Malone here, coming to you live from Dallas Trading Floor. It is Thursday, and the market's pulled back a tad here, but we're still in a confirmed uptrend, which is a good thing. A good thing. Tesla made an important buy point, which is a great thing. It moved above 502. It's pulled back a tad. I definitely bought some positions today. I bought 3 full positions in one of my other portfolios, but we're looking pretty good on that. Hopefully it'll hold up. I'm going to be pushing up my stop loss, so hopefully I won't get I won't get whacked here. It's so tough when it's coming in there like that. But we do the best we can, and so it looks like if it can hold the 502 level, I think we're going to see, it be even stronger above that. So let's kind of get into the slides. Basically, well, here I am, kind of my ugly mug. But interestingly enough, the Dow is now up 3150 points since the October low. So definitely the Dow has been leading us up, which is great. Is interesting. This has been sort of some of the rotation into some of the Dow stocks, but it's a good thing to see that. I'm excited about that as well. We are in a confirmed uptrend, which is good. Right now, the Dow is at 11,905.97, which is up today, about 0.88%. And of course, the S&P 500, it's up as well, about 0.25%, and at 35.76.55. The Dow Jones, the one that's been leading, that is up almost 30,000. It's 29,444.21 when this was taken. So kind of gives you, we're still in a confirmed uptrend. That is a good thing. In a confirmed uptrend, just with that, if you could see, when I show that up arrow, that means it's good to get into the market and possibly be going into a fully invested position. I know that I've been wading into the market, trying to find the right things, and hopefully, seeing some of the opportunities that they present themselves. So I'm trying to present to everybody opportunities that I'm seeing. They may not be exactly what everybody else likes, but I'm just trying to present it as they speak. So let's look at the S&P 500 ETF. This is the SPDR. And again, it's the world's largest ETF. Now, it was pulling back a little bit today, but it's currently moving up 357.58, up about $1.30. Now, why is this one so important? Well, this is where Tesla is going. It's going to go into this index, and this is essentially the Fortune 500 companies, and it's the world's largest ETF. The key level on this one, I believe, is about that 330 level. Oops, we had an issue with my with my little cell phone holder for TikTok. So hopefully we can get that. I can get that rolling there, right? Oh, goodness gracious! All right, well that's not good. That's not good. So maybe that will work. Maybe that'll work. I'll just set it up by the screen there. So hopefully you can see me now, kind of in all my glory. Was having a little bit of difficulty. I have this little stand here, so kind of not the greatest thing. But if this is annoying you, you can jump, and you're on TikTok, you could jump on over to YouTube at youtube.com/Dallas Trading Floor. I'm just kind of rearranging rearranging the stuff on the deck on the Titanic here. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Now I think that's going to be a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's a little bit better than the way it was before. I had one of these things that I bought at 5 and below, so you get what you pay for. Anyways, let's look at the QQQ Trust. It's up nicely today too at 292. We're headed towards that 300 level, and again, that's good. Now, many of the stocks that I like to trade are in the QQQ. That's the NASDAQ 100. That's the 100 largest stocks in the NASDAQ, and of course, Tesla is in that one as well. Now, why is it important that Tesla's in all of these different indexes? Well, what that means going forward is that there's going to be institutional pressure to buy it. So the fact that we have come up to the buy point at 502 and we may exceed it, that is a very bullish sign, because I think that might form a floor for the, form a floor to buy from. So that's a good thing. Now, the real star of today, of course, is the diamond. This is the ETF that covers the Dow Jones 30, and it's up a little bit today, at 295. So looking pretty good on those indexes. And I just wanted to show you the chart for Tesla and why it was so important. I did put out the action trade alert on this one, and we were very fortunate in that I think it might have worked pretty good. We pulled above that first buy point, that 465.90 buy point. That was yesterday, and now we've pulled all the way to this top here, this 502. Now, if it can hold this level, this 502 level, then it's probably going higher. It's when this slide was taken, it was at 501.24. So not quite at the 502.49 level, but very, very close. And hopefully, if it's able to hold that, I think that will be nice. One of the nice things I want to point out here is that we have very strong action on the volume. That is good. There's a volume spike. So definitely there's trying to be a lot of people that are coming into this issue right now. Also, relative strength of 99, which is pretty good. And the relative strength line is moving up. So that's a very strong thing too. So let's take a look at my current holdings. And these are the current holdings that basically I have of today. I typically don't like to trade any more than about 8 positions at a time. It just gets too difficult. So I try to kind of go with the ones that are good and, swap them out. Looks like everything I have currently is up today. Cloudflare, which is a symbol NET, that's up about $1.38 at 65.86. The Grayscale Bitcoin Trust at 2007. Form Factor, symbol FORM. ResMed, which is up a little bit, not as much. I may be trimming on that one. RMD. MFI, which is up, which is kind of a surprise for me today because I put in a very tight stop loss thinking that I would be sold out of this one, but it's looking good at 169.52. Tupperware, of course, at 35.31, excuse me, up about $1.43. I cannot figure out why Tupperware is doing so good. I guess people really like to save their food, and I guess I don't think it's the domestic sales that is driving this, but something's driving it. Tupperware is up, and of course Tesla is up as well today. And when this was taken, it was at 588. So it seems to be kind of teetering right at that 502 buy point. So hopefully we can power through that. If we can, then I think we're in a situation, where it will settle there. I did kind of jump out in front of it a little bit, and so in that way, I'm a bit, I'm a little bit maybe jumping the gun a little bit, but I'm pretty confident with the chart that it will be, it'll be a good thing. So without further ado. Thank you for tuning in and watching my things. Let's look at FUV. Thank you, Matthew, so much for writing in with that one and off of YouTube. FUV. Let's look at the chart on this one. This is called Arimoto, which I don't know what it does, but it develops three-wheeled vehicles that could shift, that basically for the shift to sustainable transportation. This is kind of a Me Too company, but it's pulled up heavily, probably on sympathy with the Tesla. It's up $5 today at 99 relative strength. So let's look at this chart here, and I want to show you. Take a look at the weekly chart. I think we have a spike. Yeah, we definitely do. We had a buy point on this one. Interestingly enough, the buy point was basically at $8.89 on a first stage consolidation. And by the way, when I'm talking about these bases, they're typically several bases. Consolidation is one cup without handle, cup with handle, and so forth. When I'm talking about the stage, that's an important thing. The most power happens when a stock is in its first, second, or third stage base. By the time it gets to the fourth stage base, it typically has a potential of failing about 75% of the time. So I'm primarily interested when I'm looking at a stock and when I'm looking at a stock to buy and a place to enter it. I'm looking at a first, second, or third stage base. Fourth stage base, a little bit more careful on. Now, getting back to what I'm saying here, let's look at the checklist to see if it's buyable. And it looks like it is very buyable, 8 out of 9. So this area has just been producing some very, very strong candidates. You know, the world is moving towards electric vehicles, and a lot of companies are going to be able to benefit from it. And this one may be, maybe one of them. So we have a very strong checklist. I typically use this O'Neill checklist, and the reason I do is because I find it to be very, very accurate for the growth stocks. And of course, that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about growth stocks. Now let's look at some other aspects of this as well. We've had just tremendous sales increases here. This is the sales here. We were up basically quarter over quarter, 998%. This probably is coming from a very, very small base. I do have one concern about this stock though, and that is there is very limited fund activity in it, 9%. Now that's good, and it's getting better, but it's still not really enough. I like to see about 15% funds in a particular stock. And the reason for that is it's when you're looking at what moves a stock, it's not individual retail investors like us. We're kind of like the little minnows. We have to find out where the whales are going because they're the ones that are going to really move the stock. So I do think that there are possibly some funds that activity that has moved into it. We've gone from 14 funds covering to 20 funds covering it. It's still relatively small. Here's what I would do on this one. I know $7 is very attractive, but more than likely this is going to pull back, and it's probably going to pull back to the consolidation and the buy point. So I would not be a buyer of it at this level, okay? But we do have a blue dot on that, and that means that this one is a watch list. Absolutely, wait for this one to come through earnings. We have a very big volume spike here. So let's see how this trades tomorrow. If this starts to trade up, then we might be able to move into it. But be very careful on this one, especially at the open tomorrow, because I do think that we may have a pullback. But thank you very much, Matthew. This is an excellent one. Very interesting. I hadn't heard of this company before, but the chart looks good. It's a little bit thin and it's a little bit new, but we might have something there for potential for a potential watch list on that. So great. Christian, thank you. Please please let us know when we can jump into Corsair. Yeah, this has been unbelievable, this Corsair gaming. And I'm just trying to figure out kind of what where there's a place for it, but I'm just trying to figure out where we can get into the this one. So let's look at the chart. I'm having a little bit of trouble. I'll pull up the chart here in just a second. What I'm trying to do here is to get the symbol. And I should know this off the top of my head, but I don't, and so I apologize for that. So Corsair Gaming CRSR. There we go. Great. Okay, so I'm going to get that in there. CRSR. All right, and that's Corsair Gaming. So let's pull up that chart to see. Christian, thank you for this one. Now, here's the thing about these IPOs. This doesn't have a fully formed IPO base. This is why I typically like to wait about 3 months. Here's what I think is going to happen with this. It's gotten really off to the races and it's moving higher very, very quickly. Let's look at the checklist. We have 50 funds that are on this. Obviously, the action on this stock is being driven primarily for funds coming in. So I like to see that. I also am liking to see the fact that we have every quarter we have these sales going up. And in growth stocks, sales are extremely important. They're almost more important than profits because, especially in the internet space, we're in a kind of a land grab situation. So having that increasing sales is extremely good. Now, question is, where can we buy this thing? This is going to be very hard to buy, and the reason is because it shot up so much. Now, we could possibly buy this at the 10-day line. Okay, this is not an optimal place. Just be frank with you. This is not an optimal place to buy because we like to see a base like a cup with handle of consolidation rather than a pullback to a trend line. But in this case, because it's moving so far up, I think we have to look at the at the trend line. Now, the less aggressive entry point is 27.84, and that's on the 21-day line for Corsair. So that it's beyond that. It's 37.79. So here's what I would do with this one. I think it will pull back a little bit, possibly Friday, possibly Monday. I don't know. You just can't keep on in this angle upwards. It's just going to pull back. Put an alert on this one, and I don't have an alert on it, but put an alert at $27. If it pulls back to $27, set that alert. So you want to set an alert as it's going down, and I think that if you could catch it at about that 27 level, I think it'll pull back to the 27 and it will reverse. But that may be too low. So here's how I would buy this one, Christian. Thank you so much for the question. I would set an alert for 27, get your order ready, and then if it pulls back to the 27 and then look at it, and then as it reverses, that's when you want to buy it. That's buying it on the rebound. And it takes a little bit of skill to get that, but I think that's kind of be where you're going to have to buy this one. It's just moving up so fast. And everything really looks good on this one, at least in the short term. So, and again, as John Maynard Keynes once said, and I like to quote these things because it sounds like I know what I'm talking about. In the long term, we're all dead. So I am a short-term trend trader. just for you, just FYI. Thanks again. Thank you, Marcin, for looking in. I so like it. Please tell your friends about Dallas Trading Floor and also our website, www.dallastradingfloor, where you can get on the action trade alerts. So really appreciate you looking in today. All right. Do we see a flag pattern on Snap? Well, let's look to see if we have a flag pattern on Snap. SNAP, of course, is the symbol, and that's used to be called Snapchat. Now it's called Snap Inc. So I guess that they shortened it, kind of like, it used to be the Facebook, and it's now Facebook. So I guess that's what you do. So let's look to see kind of what's going on, if there's a place that we could buy it. So when we're evaluating a buy point, and we've decided kind of we want to buy it, first of all, we do a kind of a smell test. And I'll do a smell test on this one. Essentially, we've got a relative strength of 98. That is good. We have a relative strength line that's going up, but it's pulled back a little bit. So we have a little bit of weakness there. So that's not necessarily bad. It just means it's pausing a little bit. Now, what can we see in terms of the fund ownership on the checklist? The checklist is excellent on Snap, 8 out of 9. So I'm really liking that. The only thing it's failing is on the earnings per share rating. It's not quite as good as it needs to be. Now, on a growth stock, this is not nearly as important because, of course, with a growth stock, we're looking for sales growth, not necessarily profitability. It's best if we have both, but if on a growth stock you want sales growth over profitability, at least initially. We have very nice fund ownership moving up. Fidelity Contrafund is in it. This is the Good Housekeeping seal of approval. Really like to see this. So some of the pros like this stock, obviously. So where could we buy this thing? Well, it looks as if we do kind of have a flag pattern, and thank you for pointing this out, Marcin. Typically a flag, you have to go to the weekly chart. It doesn't count if you go to the daily chart. I'm going to go to the daily chart and show you, but it's hard to see that this is indeed the flag. In order to cut down on the noise there and see the flag pattern, and I do think we're very close to that, we go to that weekly chart, and then we have this, what they call railroad tracks. So I think we possibly do have a flag pattern. Now, what's so exciting about the flag pattern is that it typically is the most explosive of all of the chart patterns that you're going to see out there. So this is excellent. Now, are we going to buy this thing? Well, let's figure, here's what we can't, I wouldn't buy it right now, but I would potentially look at buying it if it breaks out above 42. I'm sorry, excuse me. If it breaks out above 45.02. So what I think you want to do is set an alert, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to look to see, okay, I want to know when this is breaking out above 45.02. So I'm going to go over here, and by the way, I'm using MarketSmith here, and I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to set an alert, and I want this if it crosses above it crosses above. So let's see if I can go to the active. Okay, I don't have anything, but I'm going to set an alert for this one, and the price I'm interested at is at 45.02. Now I'm gonna put that one on there for Snap. That's where I think that you don't want to buy it now. Let's see if it pushes above that 45.02. If it does with volume, then I think you might have a buy point for this one. So I really like this one. Snap, of course, symbol SNAP. It used to be called Snapchat, but it's now called Snap. It's in a very good space. So that is how I would play that one. And I do think you could buy it based on, the fundamentals that I have on that. So it's interesting. Thank you for identifying that flag pattern. That's very cool. All right, so let's see if I get back to, thank you for waiting, everybody, on TikTok. Let's see if I can get a question and answer it. And I'm just going back here a little bit. Thank you for joining this conversation. What do you think about Workhorse? Well, let's look at Workhorse. That's WKHS. WKHS. And this is called Workhorse Group. It looks as if it's kind of, I don't know. I don't know if it's ready to take off. Let's look at the weekly chart first. We had a buy point on it on a first stage consolidation at 2290. It did move past that, but unfortunately that consolidation, that buy point failed and it pulled back, and it has since been moving up. Now we might get a second chance on this if it moves above the buy point being 2290. Currently it's 2275, so it's just right below that. It's got a relative strength of 99, and the arrow is pointing up, so that is good. We do have increasing volume coming in as well. We have increasing fund ownership, that's good. And the checklist is 5 out of 9. So this is where Workhorse falls down. In this kind of market, I just think that there are better options than Workhorse. Not that this one is a bad one. This is a good stock. But I would watch this one. I would not buy this one right away. You see, there's kind of a two-stage process. You put it on the watch list, and then right when it's getting ready, you put it on the ready list, ready to buy with sized order and everything like that. So I would put this on the watch list. This is not good enough to buy yet. I want to see this a little bit move with a little bit more strength. I want to see it move past the buy point of 2290, and then above that. If it does move above that, then I think we might have the ability to buy this. But right now, this is a watch list and not a buy. So thank you very, very much for that. Thank you very much. Okay, we have a question for Tesla. Let's look at Tesla. And of course, as everybody knows, I am a Tesla bull, and I bought lots of Tesla today. Was that a mistake? Well, we may see if it's a mistake or not. But as you can see, Tesla, and I'll just show you the chart here, Tesla has pulled above that very, very key level, 502.49. So that's on the weekly chart. As you can see, it's just exceeded that on hopefully on very good volume. There's a volume spike here. I do kind of want to see this move a little bit higher. That would be even better and confirm it. But let's look at the daily and see. And as I've talked about on this show in the last few days, there was this breakout, and the key breakout was the 465.90 level, which is right here, the 465.90 level right here. When it broke past that, I knew it was going to go higher. Now the question is, can it hold on? Right now, according to my chart, the Tesla is in a buy zone. Now, can it pull back? Absolutely it can. And I'm setting a relatively tight stop loss because I'm below right now. It depends on how it closes, and that's going to be how I'm going to set my stop loss. What I'm going to do is tonight, wherever it closes, I'm going to set my stop loss at 2.5% below that number. So if it does pull back, I'm protected. So that's that. We're still in a buy zone for Tesla. Now here's the rule: if the stock moves above, it closes above the buy point, then you can safely buy it with a regular 7% stop loss, 7% down losses. If it closes below the buy point, and there's resistance there, then if you do buy it at that level, because sometimes you have to do that because it's going to move fast in the morning, potentially. Then you want to set a much tighter stop loss at about 2.5% below where you bought it. So that's kind of the thing. But if we can move above this buy point, this 502 buy point, at the end of the day and hold it for a day or two, then I think we have a new base potentially for Tesla, and potentially going higher into the end of the year. And a lot of things, anecdotally, there's a lot of things that would also indicate this as well, because of course it went into the S&P 500, and that is going to create some serious buying pressure for the issue. As the funds have to, if they have exposure, they're going to have to buy this stock. So that's a good thing for that. Let's take a look at the next question from TikTok. Hi, sir. Where can we find out if any funds is buying a stock? Wow, that is a good question. Well, I have special software that allows me to see this, but I don't know of a public domain site that lets you do. I'm going to have to get back to you on that. What I do, the reason I know funds are moving into here is I have software that basically lists the top 15 funds that are in any particular stock, or if not at all, if they're none of the named funds. So I know the funds that are moving into the stock based on my charting. So there is a site that can do that. But it is a pay site, unfortunately, and it's at Investor Business Daily, investors.com. Excellent software, by the way, if you're interested in. And again, I don't get a commission for it. I wish I did. I wish I did. That would be so great. But that's a great way to know. And the reason that funds are so important is because that's really kind of what moves the stock. You have funds that are moving into it. They're going to push it up. Basically what they're doing is they're waiting for everybody to be shaken out. What's happened in Tesla is this consolidation period from about the end of early September, end of August. Tesla has been moving kind of in an up-down kind of a random pattern and on downward trend. This is where the small holders have been shaken out. I know because I've been shaken out twice. Okay, this is what the big funds do. They shake out the small guys, and then as they're gone, as they go away, then they come in hard. And that's exactly what's happened. Many of the funds have decided on Tesla, I believe, that they have shucken out enough of the small holders, enough of the weak hands, what they're called weak hands, that's what I am, and they're now going in and they're buying it. So a lot of people just don't want to sell at the low prices anymore with Tesla, and that's what pushes it up. So if we can hold above this 502 level, then I think, obviously we will do better on it. Hopefully that's not just talk, but I do think it is. Let's look at CIIG to see if we can give any insight on that. CIIG, and this, if I got it right, okay, I didn't necessarily. It helps when you put in the right symbol. So CIIG. Well, I don't seem to be coming up with it. So sorry about that. I'll have to find out more about that and get back to you on that one. Can we take a look at Teladoc, TDoc? And again, if everybody's been watching me, I did have a position in Teladoc. I sold it right into earnings, and of course, unfortunately, after that, it went down. That's so often the case. Is that with a stock, especially a stock that is moving fast, is that you don't want to hold it into earnings typically, because that's usually when it will reverse on you. So just kind of FYI kind of thing. Let's look at the chart for Teladoc. Here's the thing. I'm going to look at the weekly chart first. We always start with the weekly chart when we're looking. Now, I want to show you why I would not be interested in the stock currently. First of all, we have a downward trend on it. As you can see, I'm drawing my little arrow there. So we have a downward trend in this little part of the cup. And you say, well, Jim, that's the cup and handle, right? That's the handle, right? Right? Well, yes, but remember, we don't want to buy as the handle is going down on a cup with handle. We want to buy it as it reverses, and then it reverses with power. Now, here's the problem with Teladoc. This is on the weekly chart, by the way. It has fallen below the 200-day line. this is a rule of thumb, and that I've used, and this is a William O'Neill rule, and he's analyzed many more stocks than I've ever analyzed in my life. And basically he says, and I think this is really important, don't buy anything below the 200-day moving average. Well, guess what? This is below the 200-day moving average. So until this thing reverses and goes higher, possibly, I'm not interested in it. It's also got you've got a good relative strength of 87, and this little arrow here, it's kind of starting to move up, so that's not necessarily bad. The thing is, it's below the 200-day line. We really don't need to do anything more. It just doesn't make the smell test. So I can't be excited about Teladoc at this level because it's going in the wrong way. So don't buy Teladoc, and I don't even think it's worth putting on a watch list. Here's the first thing that I do with watches. I'm always looking to see what the general direction is. If the general direction is up, I'm going to that's the first level of test that I'm going to do. I don't want very many stocks on my watch list. I want few stocks on my watch list. Why? Because I only want to look at maybe 50 or 60 stocks maximum at any one time. By the way, I do that for you, and if you're interested and you'd like to see this watch list, you can go to www.DallasTradingFloor and take a look. I have this in my what I call my small portfolio, and then there's a tab on this watch list, and I want to kind of give you an idea of what I'm talking about here. I have stocks that are on the watch list. By the way, I highlight the ones that I currently have a position in. As you can see, there's very much more stocks that are on the watch list than I actually own. So I'm always looking for what I consider good entry points into these stocks. Well, here's the thing. I'm looking to eliminate as many stocks as I can. Why? Because I want to keep a very few positions of the very best stocks. And then when the stocks get stale, I want to sell them and move them out and move them into something else better. So long story short, would you take a look at Teladoc? Well, I have, and I have to say, I don't think you want Teladoc at this time. Look back in maybe 6 months or 3 months, but there's other better places to hunt right now in the market. So let me see if I can find a good question here from TikTok. Thank you so much. Oh, I shared the live video. Thank you very, very much, by the way. And, right now, looking on TikTok, obviously I've got a background, green background, all that stuff. Well, if you want to see all the charts and everything, they're available. All you have to do is go to youtube.com/DallasTradingFloor. And this is episode number 178. So just thought I would bring that out there. So thank you so much for taking a look at the live. And I do appreciate that. Do you think there will be a market crash like in March? Good question. I probably would be a lot richer if I knew the answer to that question. But we can kind of get an idea of kind of what that's looking at. So what I do is I like to look at a proxy for that, and I typically look at the spider. So let's look at the spider in the live chart. Okay, I'm pulling up the spider now, so you can take a look at it. Now, what do I think is going to happen? I'm looking at the weekly chart here, but let's go to the monthly, kind of just get a really 10,000-foot view. Okay, right now, as far as I can tell, we have a general trend that started, believe it or not, way back here. And we did have this temporary sell-off in March, as you can see, and then but our trend currently is up. So what am I looking for? Well, I'm looking for a break-in trend on this ascent. So let's look at the day. Let's look at the weekly chart to see is there a break-in trend? Well, there was. Basically 2 weeks ago, there was a move to the downside, but that corrected to the upside. So what do I think is going to happen? At least in the short term, at least in the next few weeks, I don't anticipate that the market will move down. I think it possibly may move sideways, but it's definitely in a confirmed uptrend. So that is kind of what I'm looking at. Thank you very much. Hey, go Tigers. Hey, Jim. Thank you for all your valuable guidelines that you share. Hey, that's so nice. Waiting for the AVLR pullback, but it keeps going up. This is the problem sometimes you have with these great stocks. You know, I say buying the pullback. It's not as easy to do as I would like it to be, but it's definitely the way to do it if you can do it. So let's look at AV LR. Let's see if there's a way that we can look at this stock and, you know, find a pullback. Now, I'm going to show you the weekly chart, and it's pretty excellent, by the way, I have to tell you. We have a 93 on the relative strength, and this little blue line here, this is the relative strength line, it's pointing up, so that's a good thing. There is a bit of concern, and this is in the volume that we're seeing on this particular stock. We have a declining volume. That is not what we want to see. We want to see increasing volume. Why do we want to see increasing volume? Because that means when we have increasing volume, typically that means the funds are moving in. And remember, we're like the little minnow. We're following along, you know, that big whale, and that whale is showing us where we need to go. So right now we have declining funds, but it's still really, really good. So where is there an entry point? Where is there a way to buy this thing? Well, it looks as if we just pulled up. You see, here's what's happening with Avalara. It's just hugging this little pink line here is called the 10-day moving average. It's just hugging it, just very tightly. So can we buy at this level? You know, this is the most frustrating thing when you have to do it like this. But you know, I do think that we need to wait, unfortunately, on this one. And there's a volume spike, so it may be difficult. I want to see a pullback to, my favorite pullback is going to be to this red line. This is called the, this is the 40-day moving average. That's my favorite place to buy it. Now, because I'm a little bit more aggressive than a lot of the traders, I look to buy on this green line. That's the 21-day exponential average. And you can see it's just been bouncing off this line and just moving right up. So I want to see it. I think we have to set an alert here, possibly for a pullback to 143. And that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and I'm going to set an alert on the active alerts to, and this is going to be, you know, this is a price alert. What do I want to do? Well, I'm going to set that for 143. Now, I want to see it when it pulls back to that. I don't want to see it priced at or above. I want to edit that. So I want to see it. Let's see if I can change that. Oh, I want to see if I can change that to, I want it to already triggered. So what I want is it above pulling back to that 143. So once I figure out how to do that, I'll show you how to do that. I actually use a different program to send me my alerts. But basically what you want to do is wait for a pullback to about the 143 level on Avalara. This is a great stock. Let's also just show the smell test here a little bit. 8 out of 9, that's excellent. We've got very nice fund, increasing fund ownership, and everybody and their brother is in this. So boy, this funds like this one. Avalara, this is a good company, cloud-based software, great area. Everything's good about it. The only problem is, how do you buy it? Buy it, wait, you gotta wait to that pullback to the 40-day, ideally to the 40-day line, but if you had to get aggressive, to the 21-day. I think you want to wait to pull it back to the 40-day line because that is still in the buy zone. So I gave you a lot of advice saying wait, but I'm afraid you got to wait on this one. But go Tigers, and thanks, man. Thanks for the wreck. And it's a good, Avalara's a good stock. So just wait for that pullback. It's not easy. This is more of the art of buying stock rather than the science. The science is looking at the charts, seeing what the direction is. The art is, how do we buy it off that? How do we buy it off those index lines? That is an art, and I can't pretend to be as good as some people out there that I've seen. But I'm getting better, and I hope that you are too on that. TSM, this is a great stock. Taiwan semiconductor manufacturer, just a little sidebar here. In the early 2000s, I was in Silicon Valley, and I worked for a firm that you might have heard of called Price Waterhouse. And one of my jobs was to go around to some of the clients and help them get tax credits and look at their engineering and that kind of stuff. So I do have sort of a background on that. And one of our clients was Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing. And the interesting thing about this country, this is a company that is a foundry. Essentially, they don't create any of the designs, they make for other people. And this is a very exciting company because NVIDIA, um, Advanced Micro, everybody uses TSMC as a foundry. So one of the great things about TSM is if the market for chips, which I do believe is going up, TSM usually is a good bet. Now let's look at this. This is a very, very good company. And the question is, where can we buy it? Well, it's pulled back a little bit. It just rocketed up. I had this in the small portfolio. I did sell it a little bit too early. This is the problem that I have. Sometimes I look at the chart and I get just too impatient. If it doesn't perform, I just, I get rid of it and I move to something else. But this and then of course after that, of course, it goes up because that's how it is. But let's look at the weekly chart. We just have this beautiful movement from the flat base, third stage flat base at 84. So here's the thing about the run on TSM. It is getting a little bit long in the tooth. We're still in the third stage base, so that's very good. If we went to a fourth stage base, I would be a little bit more concerned. But I definitely think, we can possibly see an entry point here. Where would I enter the trade on this? I would look to see if we could possibly get a pullback to the 21-day, which is basically at 90.62. But right now, this is a little bit too extended. I don't think you can buy it right now, but this is great. You want this stock on your watch list. I think it's on my watch list as well. I have to check. I'm pretty sure it is. We've got Fidelity Contra Fund in there. We've got increasing fund ownership. That's excellent. This has got 100% checklist. That's very, very rare. So TSM, I really like it. The question is, when can we get into this? The only place I think we have a prayer at getting this thing is a pullback to possibly the 21-day exponential, and that currently is trading at about 91. Currently, it's a 96.47. So we have to see a weekday, and then a reversal after that. So not the easiest thing to buy, not really buyable at this level, but soon. So this is a classic watch list stock. Go Tigers. Nikola is changing its direction. I think you need to be careful with Nikola. I have not done anything with this stock. The biggest problem that Nikola has is that Nikola was essentially what they call a blank check company that merged with it, and that's how they got IPO'd so quickly in initial public offering. But the trend on this thing is dreadful. You don't want this stock, please. I don't think even if it changes direction, this is just not good enough. You don't want this stock. Let's go to the weekly to take a look. And, there it is. I mean, the chart does not lie. That is your chart. So, yes, it is moving above that 200-day line. That's this black line here. But you know what? I won't even buy anything under the 200-day. It's got to be way higher than that. I won't even look at this thing until it gets to 100. This stock may never get back to 100, ever. So this is just not a viable stock. I mean, yes, it says 91 on the relative strength, but remember, that's for the entire year. So this just is not a good stock, I mean, in terms of buying it. So I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer here. I guess I am being a Debbie Downer. That is the trend of the stock, and it still hasn't changed trend. Now, how do I know when something has changed trend? Well, it's got to move significantly above this line. So where does it have to go to change trend? It's not going to change trend until at least it's at 40. It's at 26 right now. I just don't think you want to go with this one. I just don't. I wouldn't, and I don't think you want to either. But again, I've been wrong many times, but I don't think I'm wrong on Nikola. I don't think it's going anywhere. Well, I do think it's going somewhere, and unfortunately, that's down. So sorry about that. Sorry about that. Hey, Kyle. Thoughts on Graco, GGG. Hey, and let's see if we could find some gold here, GGG. And that's what this is all about. This is all about looking through and looking to make some gold, because the great thing about the stock market, I just kind of want to maybe I'm proselytizing here too much, but you know what? There's always a stock that you can make money on the stock market. You just got to find it, and so there are processes that we can go through to find the right stock at the right time and the right buy point. So very, very exciting. Let's look at GGG. Greg, this manufactures equipment to pump, mix, and dispense fluid and powder materials. So this is kind of an industrial play, and obviously this is going to do better when Graco. I don't know if you're familiar. There are several companies that make gasoline pumps. Wayne is another one that does, but Graco is very big in this industry. Here's the issue with this industry. This is a very profitable industry, but until there's a reopening of the economy, I don't know if at least short term that we're going to pick up. Let's look at the sales growth. Well, it looks as if we have, we had a good number. We just came through earnings, so that's nice. As you can see, where the COVID was happening, we have a negative sales. Well, not negative sales, but declining sales here. So the COVID thing really impacted it. Now, this is, for this very reason, I wouldn't probably buy this until there was confirmation that the economy was going to reopen. It does have a relative strength of 85. Now remember, 80 is my minimum on that relative strength to buy. The checklist is excellent, 8 out of 9, and let's look at the funds. Well, the funds are decreasing here, so that's kind of a black mark on it. Remember, what I'm trying to do here is find the best of the best, and by finding the best of the best, that's how we can sometimes really find a we can really find a diamond in the rough. So that's the thing that I'm always looking at in terms of stock picking. So with Graco, you know what? I'd have to take a. There's really not a decent place to buy this one. I probably wouldn't even watch this one, but it does have a very nice trend on the daily chart, and that's probably what you've been looking at. It does have a nice trend on the daily chart. I just don't see any place to buy this. Well, the last place to buy this was at a consolidation cup, basically a cup formation, and that was back in the June timeframe at basically at the 53.88 level. It's 68.48. I don't really see a place to buy this one. You would watch this one, but I do see some other issues here that might be of concern, and that is that we have a downward trend on the volume. And whenever we see that downward trend on the volume, that means that the funds, whatever they're doing, are not buying as much as they did, and obviously they're backing off a little bit. So I'd have to, I might put this one on the watch list, but I think that probably would pass on this one, at least for right now. Hey Harris, thank you so much. RVP, this is one of my favorites. This is a Retractable. This is a Dallas company. Actually, they're in Little Elm, which is a suburb. RVP, and I do like this. This is kind of a cheap stock, and it's sort of the gift that keeps on giving. Now, I typically won't hold this one through earnings just because of the volatility, and I like to protect myself. But they had excellent earnings, by the way. Their earnings were up tremendously. They're up almost 1,000% year after year. So this is kind of exciting. $1.85 up, or 16%. This is an $11 stock, folks. And now, typically, we are taught not to buy a stock below $15. Well, I don't totally follow that news. I look for stocks basically that show tremendous promise, and I do believe that's the case with RVP. The question is, below $15, we've got to be a little bit more careful about it, and we've got to jump out of it the minute it reverses. But I do think that there's just so many things to like about this stock. For instance, we have increasing volume on. We have increasing volume here. That is very, very bullish. We have a excellent earnings per share. That is excellent. We have a relative strength that's super duper, 99. That's the best as it gets. We have a relative strength line that is pointed up. That's cocked and ready to go. We have increasing fund ownership. Now, the funds aren't terrifically huge. I mean, but we're up 30% month over month in terms of the number of funds. Now, it's true, it's only 104 funds that are currently in this, but that's a lot considering in June there were only 71. So funds are starting to discover this one. Let's look at the checklist. The checklist is excellent, 8 out of 9. Of course, 6 out of 9 is my minimum, but when it gets to 8 out of 9, I'm liking it because that's a very, very good thing. Let's look at the ownership. Let's look at the industry sector, and this is potentially a bit of a problem, but not really. We want to always see. We want to be buying in the sectors that typically have most of the growth. So Typically that's going to be from about sector, there's 197 different sectors. So we can safely pretty much, we can safely, we can safely go from about 1 to about 80 or 90 in terms of the funds. Now, does that make that smell test? Well, not quite. It's just below that at 104. This is a little bit of an issue, but it's not a deal killer. This is medical supplies. That's the area that they're in. So, how do I see investing in this stock? Well, I think that this very well might be, there is essentially a short-term buy level, not really a buy point, but a buy level, and that would be right at this level here, at the 1365 level. If this can achieve 1365, then I believe you might want to consider it. Now, can you buy below that? Absolutely, but remember, if you're buying below that, it's a little bit more speculative, so you want to set your stop loss a little bit tighter. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to put an alert on this one, and I'm just kind of learning how to use this, so please bear with me on these alerts. I'm going to set that alert, and I'm going to set that alert on RVP, and I'm going to set it at 1365, and that is if it moves beyond that 1365, then I'm very interested in it because it will have moved to a new higher high. And remember, when we're buying growth stocks, and as a matter of fact, any stocks for that matter, we don't want to buy cheap stocks. We want to buy stocks that are moving to their higher highs. Typically, the best stocks to buy are within 15% of their all-time high. And that, the all-time high for RVP, the all-time high for RVP is 1365. It's currently selling for 1187. So it definitely meets that criteria. So that's very, very good. Let's look at insider trading on it. I'm looking at, you know what, and this is really, really interesting. I have a kind of an interesting chart, and I have an interesting chart. I know when the insiders are buying this. Now, normally you look at the stock and you think, and everybody's touting it on CNBC and say, oh yeah, this is the greatest stock in the world. And then you go to my charts and you look at them and you see, well, guess what? They're selling it. Well, in this case with RVP, according to this little plus sign, I don't know if you could see this here, but there's a little plus sign down here, and what that means is the insiders are buying their stock. So this one is definitely headed, I think, north. I mean, I think that we can look at that. There's been consistent buying by insiders of their own stock. Now, when we see a negative here, little negative in a circle, that means that there's insider selling. Now, insider selling isn't necessarily as dire as you think, because many people sell, their officers in the company sell stock from time to time, to pay for tuition, house improvements, whatever. But what you really want to look for in a stock is you want to see buying, periodic and regular insider buying, and that's definitely what you have here in RVP. So anyways, I've talked up the stock a lot. I hope I'm right, but I would be interested in buying this stock, getting your thing ready. I'll probably put it back on the watch list, especially if it crosses above this 1365. If it does, I think it's game on for RVP. So thank you. Okay, Tesla reversed after moving above the buy point. Absolutely, Ollie, you're absolutely right. This is not an exact science. Basically, what happened is that it did see a little bit of resistance there. So let's pull up the Tesla chart to see where we're at. We're just almost, we're right on the cusp. We're right below the buy point at right now at $499.27, but we're still up $12.63. Now, if this thing doesn't reverse lower, what I recommend tonight is watching where this thing closes and setting your stop losses up. I'm going to set my stop losses up within 2.5% of where it made where it makes the close today, because it may pull back. And if it does, well, I want to capture that money, let it pull down, and then make another attempt at the buy point at 502. And if it does move beyond that and it sticks, then of course it's going higher. But if you've been buying it, this is why you want a pyramid into your buys. I've been talking about Tesla, really trying to raise my hand as much as I can for the last few days. My first buy was at 450. Then I came in right at about 455, and right when it's below that first micro buy point at 4 65.90. Then when it moves beyond that, then I bought even more as it was coming up to the 502 level. I think my last buy was about 501. So what I will do tonight is I will set a stop loss very high on that. So if it does pull back through that, I'll just sell out it'll just sell out my position, and then I will take that profit, and then I'll wait for it to reverse, and then I'll start building my position once again. So you're right, it did reverse a little bit. Let's look at just kind of look at the 5-minute chart. At the 10-minute chart here, to see kind of how it traded into the end. How it's trading. It's pulling up, so it seems to be getting resistance right at about the 502, as you can see. I mean, it's really right. It's right about at the 502. That's 502. So what's happening is it pulled initially above it, and then it pulled back, and it's made a little bit of a stand there, and it's pulled back. But here's one thing I want to show you that I think is very bullish, and that is that we have a spike in the volume towards the end of the day. I think we're just right about the end of the day as you're seeing this. So I'm fairly confident that we're going to see another attempt on the line tomorrow. But I'm going to be setting my stop losses up very, very tight. My stop losses probably will be set right about at this level, about the 492, 493 level is where I'm going to set them in case we pull back below that tomorrow. So I thank you very much for that, Ollie. Really appreciate it. Wendy, hi, Jim. CRWG. Let's look at CRWG. CRWG. All right, this is Grow Generation, and of course this is a Canadian company, and they're in the marijuana industry, and not directly in the marijuana industry. These are the ones basically that do the hydroponics for that. So kind of a cool business. This one's been showing really nice. This is a nice chart pattern, as you can see. I mean, it's moving. It's moved up very nicely. There you go. There's the trend line. So we have a nice ascending trend line. That's very bullish. So that's good. We have a 98 relative strength, which is good. But it's a relatively new issue, as you can see. This is why this black line here, which is the 200-day moving average, we can see kind of why that's kind of short. And the reason is because it just from basically the start here to here, this is basically the first 200 days. Obviously, you don't have the 200-day line, and then after you get to that point, you have that line. So that is where. So we have this is a relatively new issue. And then we start, so it's about 200 days into it. So this has been in existence for about 300 days, this company. So it's very, very new company. Now, what would I do? It's up $3.94 here. I think you have to be careful with a company like that. I don't think it sees it enough, but it does have a 100% checklist. So I do like that. What's the fund ownership? It's moving up. So that is very bullish. Let's look at the sales. The sales are increasing, and look at that. Wow, the sales have been really tremendous. This is obviously being rewarded by the funds because, remember, in growth stocks, what we're looking for in growth stocks is we're looking for that increase in sales, not necessarily in profitability. But interestingly enough, this has been profitable as well. So it's got, not only is it a new company and profitable, and it's got growing sales growth. So everything is sort of in place on this one. Where would I buy this thing? Well, let's see if we go to the daily chart. Let's see if we can find any place that this is buyable. Really, there is a cup and handle formation, and there is a buy point on this one. The buy point is basically at 21.33. Now, we're far extended from that. I just wouldn't buy this one at this level. I think it's a little bit too high. Let's see if it pulls back a little bit to possibly the 21-day exponential and bounces off of that. Right now, it would not be a good buy at this time because it is too far extended from the proper buy point, which is on a cup and handle formation, which is this is the best of the formations at 21.33. So would I buy this one now? No, but I would possibly watch list this one. Grow Generation symbol is GRWG. So thank you very much, Wendy. And I hope that you are staying warm up there in Calgary, which is a very beautiful city, by the way. That's that. Okay, so let's look at Party. Thought on Party. PRTY. It's moving up. Let's see. And you know that song that Jefferson's moving on up to the west side. Let's see, the east side, to the deluxe apartment. Let's see if this is a deluxe apartment or not. PRTY. So it's a party time. Wow. Okay. Well, let's look at the weekly chart. Party City. You know, and Party City, I don't know if in my neighborhood they have a Party City every, you know, it's about this time of year they come in and they set up Party City around Halloween a little bit before, and they kind of rent those places, and then you can come in and you get your party stuff. It is moving up, absolutely. It's got a 99 relative strength. It's $3.80, a little bit cheap for me. I don't like to buy stocks typically below $15, just because they're too volatile and they're harder to think. There's a lot of red flags on this one. I know that this is not. They do have improving sales. Okay, you know, let me show that. But looks like the sales quarter over quarter have not gone positive. They've been essentially since September quarter of 2019, they've had decreasing sales. Don't like to see that. So this is not a growing business. This is a shrinking business, unfortunately. Now the cash flow is good, though. I have to admit, the cash flow is super good on this. You know, for this kind of stock, that's looking good. We do have essentially stable fund ownership. We were losing funds, but we now have stable. They seem to be stable at about 110 funds that are currently in this stock. Let's see if there's a place that we could absolutely buy it. Okay, we go to the checklist, and unfortunately, this is not a checklist that you want to buy. 5 out of 9 just isn't good enough. I think you have to eliminate this one. I need to say 6 out of 9 minimum on this one. Let's look at the fund ownership again. We do have increasing fund ownership, but only by 1. So I'm not that bullish on the stock, to be honest with you. It does have an upward trend. It has broken trend and moving upwards, so that is good. You know what? I just can't recommend this one, Patik. I thank you so much for it, but you know, let's find something that is a little bit more bullish than this. Yes, it is moving up, but it is not even a watch list. It's 5 out of 9, and unfortunately, it's just too cheap a stock. So I would pass on this one. Basically, I would pass on this one. Okay, Doug Fresh Doug. I sold a Tesla 800 strike covered call for September 2021. Do you think it will get to 800 and end up getting assigned? I think you are very safe on this one, Doug. I think you are. Well, no, wait a minute. I'm sorry. I apologize. I thought it was September 2020. I was like, you have no problems there because it's already passed. No, I'm wrong. Will it get to 800? Do you think that? Well, the great thing about selling a far dated call like this, it's a very good way to make money, because if it's going against you, you can always buy it back, and you may not necessarily get shellacked. But let's kind of look at the long-term trend, and this is kind of a fun exercise, because this is how we're going to look kind of into the future, see what happens potentially in the future. So let's look at not the weekly chart. Let's look at that monthly chart. Well, is it going to go that high? Is it going to have that kind of an angle of ascent? I seriously doubt it. But it looks as if this seems to be the trend. Now, where does that tell us it's going? Well, at the end of it looks as if, based on the trend line that I've got, and this is a very rough estimate here, Doug, very, very rough estimate. I want to kind of pull this up to you on the screen. This is a very, very rough estimate, but this is the monthly chart, by the way, not the weekly chart, and not and so this is the trend. Currently, we're right about this 502 level, 500. Now, where is it going to go by September of 2001? Based on this trend line, I'm looking at 700 or possibly 750. I don't think, excuse me, that you're going to get to 800. So I think you're pretty safe on this one, Doug. I think that's excellent that you've made that kind of a trade. Well, I have completely wasted another hour of your time, but thank you so much for coming by. And by the way, if you want to get the action trade alerts, I put them out on a regular basis, and I'll just show you a screenshot of my website. It's DallasTradingFloor.com, And then basically to get the action trade alerts, if I get it right, DALS, tradingfloor.com. Does that not work? Well, I guess it's not. I guess I'm not getting it. But anyways, just go to the website, www.Dallas Trading Floor, and sign up for the and sign up for the action trailers. It's totally free, by the way. And there's the address, and I wanted to put on the screen, www.dallastradingfloor.com. And for everybody, thank you so very much for tuning in. Now, I will be broadcasting tomorrow from 2:30 until 3. If you want to send a question before the show, super easy to do. Just go to www.dallastradingfloor, and then there's an Ask a Question button. Push that. Just put that in, and you're ready to go. I'm also on podcasts, Apple, iTunes, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. So that is a new thing that's coming out as well. So until tomorrow, happy trading.